All right, welcome everybody. Mil Spec Ops Monkey here. It's 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and it's shout out to Bob Marley. It's 420 day, so I imagine we won't be seeing much from her today. But anyway, as I digress, we are going to kick things off as we unpack here. Going to be looking at a couple of different things today. Looks like we got a couple B-52s up that are out cruising around, and then we're going to look closely at the skies over the George Floyd area for the trial, and we're going to look at Ukraine and just kind of take a dab in there and look also at the Black Sea on the marine traffic, just so we get kind of a total picture of what's going on. And of course, we're going to go looking at the all the prison locations and see if we've got any activity there, as well as down in Opelika, and see if we've got any kind of interesting stuff going on. And I've already kind of kicked the tires and looked across the board, and so we'll got a lot of stuff up in the air. But currently right now on the board, let me get over to that. And by the way, I want to welcome all the new monkeys catching your first stream. I see that in the chat. Hey, one thing for you guys to know when we're done, one thing I like to do with my Patreon crew is basically I'll hit stop recording, and in that, this will get posted up to YouTube. But then I'll kind of hang on in the chat and talk with you guys. And if we have any other, things we want to talk about or questions, that's a great time to ask them. And we just kind of go through it together. So anyway, again, welcome you guys. And all right, so here we are. We're looking at our crime scene. And I say that because we obviously have a crime family in the house. And so up at the Senior Living Center. And so that's what we're watching. And so we'll go across the Tfrs here in just a minute as well. But currently we're sitting at, 319 up. So the board's starting to populate and get a little busy. I do not have persistence on yet. If something drops offline that we were looking at, I'll key in on that. That's that little P filter over here on the side for those of you that are kind of new to this app. But if you're looking at something and all of a sudden you see it just disappear, just hit that P button. If you're within a few seconds, about 10-15 seconds of that, you can actually hold that. It'll pop it back up. So one of the things that did pop out this morning as we were talking about pop outs is these flights right here. If you notice the nomenclature on the front for the call sign, it's got a G20669, and then this one's the same thing. It's a 20671. Those are Homeland Security birds, okay? And so they have been kind of all in this area today. These are H60 Homeland Security. Okay. Of course, they're still, I guess they're still deliberating for the trial up there. I imagine just the fact that they're still deliberating, if it was a clean case, they would have come out probably pretty quickly. The fact that they're ongoing is not good. That means you're probably going to get something other than murder. And I would imagine anything outside of that is probably going to instill a lot of riots. And so for those that live in areas that have had riots in the past, I would tell you to have a plan, okay, and just be safe, but be smart, and fully expect we are entering riot season. And so all right, so there is that. Now let me pop over. I'm going to go to the other flight tracker. We're going to look at some volcanic ash stuff. We've got some new alerts, and I look at that because this has to do with aircraft. And so you'll notice one flying across right here. I don't know what the altitude is of that one, but we do have a new ash alert. This is the one off, I guess it's considered Alaska. It's up here in these little islands that stick out. But this little box is a volcanic ash, and that's an ash alert. And so I guess this thing is spewing a little bit of ash, but they are saying there's a red alert for this volcano that bad dude's about to blow. And so if it's a Mount St. Helens type of ash producer and it gets in the wrong area, that could actually carry some of the ash from the jet stream across into the U.S. So we need to kind of watch that. And also air traffic. The reason, and I had to laugh when I saw this aircraft here. So typically not, I'd be kind of watching. I don't know. Let's see what the altitude is on this bad dude. But he's at 40,000 feet, which is, man, that is high for a commercial aircraft. Okay, so he has clearly requested an altitude that gets him above that. probably just to save fuel instead of having to deviate. Okay, and so he is scooting to 594 miles an hour, so he's moving right along. But that's little ANA and airlines, and they are typically you don't see them fly into this area. So the fact that his altitude is at 40,000 feet, you also don't see commercial aircraft up at 40 very often. Okay, even internationals, they typically fly at a little bit lower altitude. So, but that is, you don't want that entering your engines. If the ash gets into these engines, especially with just two engines, it can do engine damage, okay, because it's like little particles of glass. So, all right, so there's that. Let's look at the TFRs real fast. Check out the latest gear at monkeywerxus.com. And just kind of go through some of the things we have. This line right here, as you guys see going across, that is going to be the space station. Just so you know, this app will actually track it. So if you're in an area where you can actually look up and see the night sky, you can catch a glimpse of that thing flying over. It's actually visible to the naked eye if you're in a good area to watch that stuff. So this app is called My Radar, and it's a free download. It's a free app you can get on your phone. You can download it on your computer. It's a fantastic app. It covers a lot of different things, but I look at it from an aviation weather perspective. So that said, TFRs, temporary flight restrictions. Okay. Now that a lot of people confuse those with no-fly zones. That is totally different. Okay. It just basically means that a pilot has to adhere to certain restrictions when they're flying in that general area. So there's no messing around. Now, when they're going to do a launch, they'll actually designate a no-fly zone, and the FAA will handle that. Okay, or a military would handle that if it was overseas. Okay, but this is our latest. So this TFR right here is a space launch. So I think in 2 days we've got another Falcon 9 launch that's going to be going up and connecting to the space station. And so you guys can see that, and they're already kind of getting ready for it. Hopefully weather permits. They've been getting a lot of rain down in Florida, so which is good because that'll help some of the fires and things. So the little red box right here, that's going to be Dittany, and that is a permanent TFR. And up here in the panhandle, the little red box right there, that's going to be a gas line or a pipeline thing, right? And so they do gas releases, and they get those in the general area. Okay. So as we kind of look at here, this is a search and rescue active TFR. That there's an ongoing effort. They're looking for something out here in the water. This is a military operations TFR. I've seen this down here before, and I don't know why the box is elongated like that. It's kind of an interesting, instead of just doing a round circle over the area, it's pretty streamlined. And then over here, this is going to be, let me get into Corpus Christi. I'm not really sure. That's okay, air show. All right, so it looks like they're getting an air show down here on the beach. And these little boxes here, now that one's a military base down south of San Angelo, and that's always there. I think there's also a nuclear facility, power plant or something in that general area. So, but this is going to be a fire. This is going to be your border TFR. That's always there. Okay. And then this stuff, like I said, the reason these are here is because they're highly coordinated. So when they see aircraft in the area, they know that if they're not talking to the tower, then it's probably somebody running drugs or trying to get across the border. Okay. Okay. All right, so let me back this up just a little bit. We're going to get over here. Now, this one over Savannah is also an air show. We seem to be in the air show season. And this one right here, that is a long-term, that's permanent TFR. That's over the Senior Living Center, aka Brown Zone. And that one is always there. So it is not a no-fly zone, okay? Their aircraft do have to take off. This actually is in the immediate area. You notice you got the Potomac right here, and that's where your flights come in. There's an airport right here. So when these things take off, they're not allowed to fly over the White House, so they have to take off almost like vertical, like they're super duper max climb, and then they bank hard left or hard right, depending on which direction they're going, to avoid going directly over the White House. Okay. All right, so there's that. Now let's get into the area where we've got up here in Minnesota, where we have this one right here is actually a blasting hazard. And that's been there for a couple days, actually. So they're doing something going on there. But this is the one we want to watch because this is the area I think is getting ready to go hot. All right. And so this is going to be, now this I think is a general area where they typically are getting crazy in the streets. Downtown maybe also, but because of the trial going on. And then I think these areas, so these external areas I think are where they're getting cheeky. Okay. And this is, I think, the trial area. So not 100% on that, but pretty confident. So, but those are going to be your TFRs that we're watching for. Okay. And so we'll look closer at that. I don't expect them to come out. They may come out today with the verdict. And so if they do, the fact, typically, if you've ever been part of a jury, if you're going, if you are in there for a prolonged period of time, there's somebody on the pool that they are trying to change their mind or vice versa, right? That they've created enough reasonable doubt, and that's all you've got to do. And then you have a hung jury, and then it can go back to retrial, right? And so anyway, that may be what's occurring. The fact that they are taking this long, and I know they went late last night. That's kind of an indicator of what may be coming out. Okay, so that said, all right, let's look at Flashbang Schedule. So this is for today, 420. Like I said, it looks like again, crack of dawn, early start. These guys, 10 a.m. To 2:45 p.m. So another full day. I'm glad to see that we're really getting our money's worth out of this. So it's amazing how much damage you can do in just such a short day. But here we go. So it looks like kicking off at 10. Looks like the two of them are together, because what's their slogan? Better together. And so clearly two brains are better than one. And I think there's a lot of shadowing effort going on here between the vice president and president. So this would be Flashbang and future Flashbang. So, all right. And 11:15 looks like they're meeting with the Hispanic caucus. And let's see, press briefing 12:30. That's kind of a daily thing. Anyway, all right. And 2:45 looks like he's doing a virtual tour of an electric facility. So. Then he delivers remarks. So I don't know if somebody just holds up an iPhone and they walk around and give kind of an explanation. I don't know, but mercy, man, afraid of our own shadow. This was kind of hideous. So, all right. Anyway, that said, so we talked a little bit about that no-fly zone over the Space Center. So this is going to be our Spacex flight. There are no monkeys on this one. It just appears that we've got a little 4-man crew. And I don't know who Megan MacArthur is, but she's part of this one. And this, if you kind of get into it, this is the whole plan. That's going to be the return of the rocket motors. And then this is, I guess they're going to be doing the hookup here at the space station. So it's kind of fascinating. I think this looks so much better, honestly, if I'm having to poke holes at NASA. Man, what a difference. I mean, it just feels so futuristic when you watch it compared to watching the old NASA flights. It's pretty cool. So, all right, let's kick it off and go over to Guantanamo Bay. Let's look at some of the prison activity. This is for the week. These are arrivals. As you're going to notice, we have Gitmo that was on the board from Friday. All right, that is, as I mentioned before, that's a base commander. So anytime you see that call sign, GTMO, that's going to be a base commander call sign, okay? This Air Transport International, that's going to be one of our, it's coming out of Charleston. They were coming out originally from Norfolk, Virginia, and not happening too much lately. They seem to be moving all the supply chain efforts out of Charleston. Now, Norfolk, for those not familiar with Norfolk, that is the home of the NCIS, right? And so that, those guys are doing all of their, kind of support work for the attorneys that are coming out of Jacksonville. So these two probably work closely together, like hand in hand. Okay. Notice we do have a couple of aircraft here on the board. We've got 915, which these are Phoenix Birds that were coming out of the NCIS location, Norfolk. and out of the brown zone. All right. Now that was last Tuesday. And so that kind of put us in a direction of looking at Opa-locka, and we'll take a closer look at that here in just a minute. Okay. All right. Now, looking at the cases, we'll go back to the board here in just a second. I just want to show you guys, we looked at this yesterday for the Patreon folks, but this is the docket is clear, which I find hard to believe. If there's something going on that's classified, you won't see it on here. You shouldn't see it on here. All right. And so the fact that all of this just keeps getting canceled, like over and over and over, you can go back almost for a year and just see this stuff just keeps getting canceled and postponed. And there's no way that they're not prepared and ready for this trial. They couldn't be, because the fact that, these guys have been in there for like 20 years. So they've got to have all their ducks in a row, I would imagine, for some type of prosecution. So, okay. Let's get back to this real fast. So that is our arrival board. We're going to look at scheduled departures. I don't see anything. We don't have really anything coming scheduled en route to the spa. And if we look at our departure board, it closely matches. This is at ATN coming back from Charleston. If you guys notice, it already landed. That's the flight. It's actually en route back to Charleston. And so that's happening right now as we speak. So that's the only thing we've got going. Like I said, that's a supply run. Okay. All right. Let's look at Camp Justice. That place has been not a lot of activity at all. I mean, it's been very, very quiet. So if we look at departure board, there's nothing on it at all. So we don't have anything scheduled or en route to there. It's all just drawn a blank. So very quiet out at Camp Justice. Now, for those not familiar with that airport, that bad dude is out in the Indian Ocean. So it's out pretty far out there. So that is a prison location. We've used it in the past, I think during wartime and stuff. We've used that prison. So but it's not a lot going on right now, at least that we can see. Okay. All right. Xpl Honduras. Now this is a location that is down. It's an alternate. So back in April of last year, there was a study done it was a call out in the National Defense Act that they would look at Kwajalein Atoll and Xpl Honduras as alternate locations to Guantanamo Bay. Since then, it has been a pretty constant uptick. Okay, so there's been a lot of activity going on. We're seeing very similar flights as we see going into the spa in terms of like Charleston. So we got supply runs. We're seeing troop replen. That's right here, the Shark 70. That's going to be a troop replen going into that location. Now, this one is the one that caught our attention the other day. Came out of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and that is a Mexico-based Learjet, okay? And so I've been watching that one pretty closely to see what it's up to, where it's going, just to see if we've got maybe some of the Mexican authorities working closely with our agencies. And what I'm finding is this thing is actually popping into the same locations as our agency birds, okay? So this is that bird. It just landed 57 minutes ago, and it came out of Venezuela going to Miami. All right. And if we look at the history of this is why I want to show you guys. So as of last week, we got into the 14th. This thing was in Port-au-Prince. It went to Honduras. That's what caught us on the board. And then from there, it went down to another location within Honduras. And then it headed out to Guatemala. From Guatemala, it went to Venezuela, and then now it's back in Miami, all right? Now, there's another bird, and you guys will see it. I'll show you. It's on the board right now that's also got the same similar call sign as this one that is currently in Opa-locka and or on the board in Opa-locka, okay? And so that brings us to this. Now, these right here are that XA. Those are Mexican flights, okay? Those are coming out of Mexico, but that's a little G4 Gulfstream. And it looks like it is due to arrive. It's not here yet. It's en route to Opa-locka. But this is the board, so you guys can see for Opa-locka. And that is currently these are aircraft that are en route there. And then this is your arrival board. Okay. So I've been watching this closely to see if we had anything that was suspect. Only ones like that, like this one coming in from Mexico, I think is a little bit, we ought to watch these. I'm not totally sure the tie-in to it. What I'm really looking for on here are some of our Phoenix birds. What I see are a lot of net jets, with the exception of these little XA XTRs that I'm kind of keeping an eye on because I don't know to what extent we're working with them, and so we're just kind of watching that. But here is, again, that's little Gulfstream, and it's currently en route. And you can see it just actually took off out of Opa-locka, sorry. And it's going to take me a while to break that habit, folks. I'm sorry. But anyway, that is where this thing is. But you can see this bird's been heading in and out of Palm Beach and Mexico, and so I don't know. We'll keep an eye on these as they come in and out. But this airport right here is definitely of interest because this is where we've been watching the Phoenix birds come out of Guantanamo Bay into this airport. Okay. All right. That one does not want to work for me today. All right, here we go. I knew it had something up. All right, this is going to be your Caleta Airlines, and looks like we've got our normal flight right now that's headed into Dominican Republic out of Miami. And now somebody sent me something not too long ago that actually shows some kind of an effort going on, and it has to do with internet lines or something underwater that's all in this general area right here. It ties down into Haiti and a bunch of other stuff. So it's some kind of underwater effort that they're working in. I don't know if this is supporting that, tying it in. I don't know, but this plane goes back and forth from Port-au-Prince into a Dominican Republic and into Miami. So it's kind of a pretty regular flight daily. Okay. All right, over to our other, this is one of our Caleta flights. And this looks to be headed right now, landed 5 hours, 17 minutes ago, sorry, up in Willow Run out of Detroit. But it's coming out of Charleston, South Carolina, okay? Now, going back to this, again, this is one of those we've been watching because it went down to Mexico, and then it was in El Paso, back to Charleston. It was in Shreveport, so in Laredo. I believe this aircraft is being utilized for moving immigrants freely around the United States. Okay. Over to our Maxwell Bird. So those not familiar with this, Maxwell Bird, this one popped on our radar probably, I don't know, maybe a year ago now. But it's a very nice little aircraft. Now, I do know there are contractors that use this flight, so it doesn't always mean that there's something going on, but they definitely utilize this because I've had them reach out to me and tell me that, okay? And so, but it looks like it's currently scheduled. It's coming out of Teterboro, New Jersey, down to Lauderdale. That is probably going to be one of those contractors, and then they'll catch, out of Lauderdale, they'll catch the little Lear flights over to Guantanamo Bay if that's where they're heading. Okay. And but you can see this one here again. We've seen this one pop into Opa-locka as well in the past right here last Tuesday. Notice it was down there as well. So I don't know if they're setting operations up down there or if there's just some stuff going on we're not privy to, obviously. But we'll continue to watch this one, and like I said, we're eyes on Opa-locka because I do think there's something going on, just given the flights triangulating out of the spa going to that location. Okay. All right, this is going to be Phoenix Air. Now we've got a lot of Phoenix birds. It's kind of crazy to watch them all because they seem to pop up regularly. Like there's ones that I don't know are out there, and I just keep adding to the deck. I think we're up to about 6 of them that we watch, and we watch them because we know they're a DoD supplier, but we also know that they work closely with the agencies. Okay, and so these are their little routes right here. If you'll notice, they head in and out of this little island. This is a naval operation island, kind of like Kwajalein. How Kwajalein is a going to be a Army base, right? And so this is not really anything. I mean, it's a giant runway and a couple of buildings. And so they do a lot of work out here, and these contractors fly out of this location, Laguna, into this. And then we also have them flying out of the same Laguna over to China Lake. And those are daily flights, all right? And so you can see this one here is on. Now, it's interesting. I'm looking at this, but I don't see it on the board down here. But the China Lake, these are little Embry Air 120s. And if you're not familiar with those, they are little puddle jumpers. They hold probably 20 people on them, little two-seater pilots. And you typically, working for these airlines, you don't get guys that, you either get people that are retired from the commercial aviation world, or you get brand new pilots that don't have a lot and they're trying to get stick time so they can go work for the commercial airlines. So, but anyway, that's what we have going on right now from a Phoenix Airborne perspective, Phoenix Air. Now we will look at some of the other Phoenix Airs. So as we go on, and here we will do that now. All right, so in 549 PA, that one popped onto our board because it was at the spa. Okay, now notice it's coming out of Panama City and it's headed up to the brown zone, and it's a little Learjet, and it looks like it's just about to land. So we caught that one just in time. But the owner is CFF Air Inc., and I don't know, even though it operates under the Phoenix Air kind of call signs, that PA. I don't know if this is an offshoot for just P&L purposes or what that is, but that is, I don't, like I said, I don't know the tie-in, but they are closely related to Phoenix Air. So anyway, so there's that. Now this one, if you'll notice, it's been out at Tyndall in Panama. That's where it just took off. It's actually headed to Joint Base Andrews, and then it's going to go back. Cartersville is their home base location, so that's where it'll go to. But last Tuesday, Opelika, that's where it popped on, and notice it came out of Guantanamo Bay to Opelika, then Opelika back to its home base. So whoever it took out of here ended up here, okay? Because I seriously doubt anybody just said, yeah, I'll go ride home with you and catch the bus or catch another flight out of Cartersville. Just not one of those things they do. So that's what they call a deadhead flight, where there's nobody on it but flight crew. They're just getting it to the other location so that it's pre-positioned for the next mission. Okay. Okay. So that is going to be 549, and now we're going to go to 163 PA. Another one, again, this is where they get the Graybird nomenclature from. It is a beautiful Gulfstream. I believe this used to be owned and operated by the CDC. I'm not 100%. I bet if I went and looked at registration, it would probably give me that detail. But I want to say it was at one point. If it wasn't this one, it was another one. But the CDC used to operate these Graybirds a lot too. Okay, back in the day when the Ebola was breaking out in the U.S. And so it looks like this one just did a quick hop out of Cartersville over to the ATL, and it's now still sitting from what I can tell. So that's Paulding County. So that is not going to be Hartsfield. It's going to be a different one, but it's right pretty close to it. So so that looks to be pre-positioned. So whoever gets onto that one's coming out of Paulding County. All right. And again, this one, Sacramento, DC, it was out here in the Marshall Islands. This is one that was out in Guam. Here's Anderson Air Force Base. You guys can see. And whoever was out here, my understanding there was a team that went out to work climate change or something, but they came out of Sacramento, all right, and then were pulled back into DC. So they probably went here and then did a debrief here, I would imagine. So, okay. So that's going to be 163 PA. And here's another N568 PA, and it's currently en route from Norfolk, Virginia down to Cartersville. So that's an RTB. So we're going to look at the previous flight just to see where that came out of. So it looks like, here's another one, Wednesday, Opelika to Cartersville. All right. And so Guantanamo Bay, Opelika, Cartersville, and then of course it went from Cartersville to Norfolk, Virginia, and then back. So it probably took, from what I can tell, let's see here, Cartersville. I don't know why it would go here and then up to there. So interesting. Anyway. All right, so again, Opalaco, that's the one we're watching. All right, we're keeping eyes on these birds because it's interesting that they would use this in these little tiny planes, going on what it costs to operate per hour. Very, very expensive. So to do that, and have that many crews going in independently seems very odd. So these are perfect when you're talking about putting a small crew, like a security detail or a couple high-speed dudes, onto a little plane like this and bringing somebody into the spa. These are ideal. Okay, very small footprint. It can land anywhere, and it can go a very long distance. Okay, and so as I mentioned before, I've looked at the hourly rate for these things, and it is hideous. So our government is spending a lot of money utilizing these little jets. So, all right, this one, let me see. Let me pop it back up here. All right, lost contact there for a minute. Landed 6 days ago. It went from Terceira, prison location island that we look at, also a refuel stop over to Greece. And it went to Terceira. So it looks like that one was coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee, which is interesting. Remember, we had an incident happen there around that same time. And then all of a sudden we see it go to Terceira and then over to Greece. So I don't know if they transported somebody out there, but those not familiar with Terceira Island, it is a split base location. It's a U.S. Air Force base, but it's not all Air Force base. They share a runway for commercial airlines and things like that. So, but when you land there, if you go hook a left and go west a little ways to about the middle of that tiny little island, there is a high security prison right dead in the middle of it. And that's why I said I think that's one of our prison locations. So, all right, N198PA. Now, this one we found yesterday. We were looking at it, and because it's operating down in Africa. Now, I will tell you what we found yesterday was that is not an accurate account of the aircraft. It is not a little puddle jumper. This is a Gulfstream. As you guys can see over here, it's a G3, and it is operated by, now these are the ones that you want to watch. They're very suspect. They're kind of a layer within a layer within a layer. And what they do is, if you'll notice, the owner is the tail number, and it's a LLC, okay? When you see that kind of thing, it's because they have stood up a totally separate P&L and structure for liability, and that's what they are. And so the agencies will come in and use these, and that's how they just keep it clean. It's not mixed with anything else. But that right there is suspect when you see these things be called by an LLC, all right? Especially when you know they're agency birds. But as you can see, this thing is very busy. Again, it's not a puddle jumper. It's a Gulfstream. It's a G3. You can see it right here doing the call outs. But it has been in Italy. It's been in Senegal, which is a very big Gambia. And, these areas right here, when you start talking about Africa and that part, are very heavy. Like they're dealing with Ebola right now, big time. And so when you see them in this general area, you always have to be a little bit suspect, okay? And again, these are known agency birds, and the fact that they're doing operations out here is that's because that's what the U.S. government does. So, okay, LN491RV, another tail number we watched. Now, this one originated in where it popped on our radar because it showed up as a medical flight at the spa. Okay, reason I'm pointing this one out, and I started watching that, is because it is frequently buzzing into these locations that are suspect as black sites, okay? Like right here, Kings in Jamaica, Nassau. That is when if we go back and remember when Epstein didn't kill himself, there was a series of flights that started taking place just before, and I mean a flurry, just before he quote, killed himself. And they went to all these same locations, right? And it was all the Coletta birds. And so that's what kind of got me looking at that. And I started researching and finding out that there were things to do with black sites and rendition flights and things of that nature. And so, just kind of a reason why we watched this one, but it looks like that one is currently in O-Town, Orlando. And again, that is a little Learjet. It's a nice little Learjet. Just so you know, it's a Lear 35, and I don't know who owns it. I couldn't get any information. I thought I was onto something at one point that they operated out of Lauderdale, but it kind of dead ended, and I couldn't confirm and sync it up that it was actually that aircraft tail number. So I may have to try and catch it in flight and see if I can get it on another app and if it pulls anything. Okay. All right, over to our sniffer bird. That thing hasn't flown since the 14th, so it's been down for about 6 days. Last flight, it was out here over the coastline. That's your Potomac River right here that's running, and but it frequents this area quite a bit. And so I think the concern is they're worried about somebody getting some type of a small nuclear device in here. Because if you get into this area, notice that's Andrews. You're in the brown zone right here, right? And if you get it all the way up into here, you are in DC Central, all right? And so you could detonate a small dirty bomb or something, or a Club K or anything, launch in here, and your time to target is going to be very reduced. Okay, and if it's just a suitcase one, mercy. I mean, you hit something here, and depending on the kiloton and the size, the jet stream would actually carry it right up over a very heavily populated area, not to mention DC. So you could have a massive loss of life if somebody were to do something stupid like that. Okay. So I think that's why they're watching it on a regular basis. All right, now let's get over here to the Eurocopters. And this will kind of segue us into some of the other locations as we get through. So right now, again, this is always a hot spot for this activity. The reason we watch these are, if you go into your FlightAware app, do the little drop down, go down here by browse by aircraft, aircraft type, and you key in AS50. That's going to pull up the Eurocopter, which is it's kind of like the Ford Explorer for police and DHS and Customs and Border Patrol and Highway Patrol. Not all of these are going to be that, but a majority of them are going to be. And so you could actually kind of dig into that and start looking closely and kind of triangulate some of these flights. So I would think this in here is traffic and fires, if I had to guess. Don't know about this one. When you get them down here close to the border, like that one right there, that's going to probably be Border Patrol. And matter of fact, we'll just kind of dig in on that one just to pick on somebody here for a second. But probably rolling out of this little thing. Now that is the El Paso area, okay? And so for your Border Patrol, let's see who this is. Now there is a fire currently going on in one of these areas, but let me see who that belongs to. Roberts Aircraft Company. So again, dead end, all right? So not seeing it was near Roswell, New Mexico. So that doesn't appear to be anybody, although they are definitely doing some buzz work there on the border region. So, so sometimes we don't straight goal when we look. So, in that case, doesn't look like that is anything, unless it's just somebody independently utilizing a company, which they could do, like our charters. But that's the kind of thing you're looking for, stuff along the border, and that's how you know it's Highway Patrol kind of related. Like this one right here. Let's click on that and see if we got anything. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. So there you have it. All right, that's kind of what I was expecting in the last one, to be honest with you. Didn't hit anything, but you can see they are pretty frequent. Took off out of here, and Homeland Security, and so they are right there on the border. And so that's the kind of thing we're looking for, that we're watching to see if we got any activity or something going on. And up, in Minnesota, I mean, they fly Homeland Security. Like I said, those H-60s we were looking at earlier are up in Minnesota. So, okay, over to the live Atlas flights. Now, what we're looking for in this one are the flights that are getting out into here, into the Middle East and Europe. And right now, I don't see anything on the board that indicates that. Looks like it's all South America, US, and Asia. Unless they fly somewhere like that, South Korea, and I don't know where. Maybe it's just faster going left than it is right. And so no telling where that one's headed, but don't have a destination. But nonetheless, the reason we watch Atlas Air is because these guys are known. Notice that is a lease, is what that is. That's not an Atlas Air aircraft. So they are probably wet leasing that from that airline, which is not uncommon. Okay. And those not familiar with how the leasing thing works, when I talk about a wet lease, that's somewhere where you basically, it's like renting a car. Think of it from that standpoint, where you're going to get all the maintenance, all the gas, well, everything but gas, but all the aircraft maintenance, everything is kind of inclusive of the price of the lease. So you're basically renting by the hour. You fly it, land it, they do all the maintenance and fixes on it, and then you just continue to fly it. So all you really do is providing the pilots and then paying by the hour. So, all right. So Atlas Air doesn't look to be doing anything in the region of Europe or the Middle East. And so we're watching for that. Again, DoD contractor, big troop movers, and the nose cone on those things open up. You can push all kinds of stuff into that. So, all right, over to our live radar. So we're watching, this is Minnesota up in Minneapolis, and we're just kind of watching to see if we got any kind of traffic that would indicate. Now, there is an active TFR in this general area, but I want to say down here south of the city, we're starting to see some helos. That would not be a helo. Let me zoom in here so I can actually lock onto that helo. All right, now this one is interesting. Notice it's just a little ugly helicopter. But that little dude has been up for quite a while, at least an hour, because the last time I started the stream, it's been a while ago. And so now I have seen in the past, even over Dallas, when we were having some of the riot stuff going on the front end of this whole trial, that they were utilizing that type of an aircraft. Looks like it just landed. So, but you're looking for these. That's a nice little. That's a care flight is what that one is, and so it looks like that one is boogieing straight downtown. So, but we're just looking for any kind of aircraft that looks to be kind of circling an area, maybe gathering cell phone data, things like that. And so, what I would recommend, as these appear to be all private owners, from what I can tell so far. What I would recommend is if that's something you guys want to watch in the future, it's flightradar24.com. It has a playback capability. So if you see things start to go down and you kind of want to watch to see how quickly they responded, if they're gathering tower data, just things like that, you can come in here to this playback and select it, give it a date and a time window. Remember, it's going off a universal time, so you have to do that conversion. But I think it's +6 or something. But and it'll give you kind of a snapshot, and you can start to watch the flight activity. And so there's those 3 no-fly zones that we were looking at earlier. If we kind of zoom into our map here, you can see there's one that's down south here by Bloomington, or north of Bloomington, one over the city, which I think is where the trial stuff is going on, and then one in the north area. And so those are areas we're going to kind of watch, and that's what we're looking for on this map, just to see if we've got any type of, police activity, anything that would indicate there's stuff getting ready to shake down. And so if they start rioting, what you're going to notice is you'll start to see these aircraft, see a lot of helo activity, and you can really kind of zoom in on the areas of interest as to where things might be going down. Okay. And so that's kind of an indicator. I don't see anything happening right now that would indicate that we've got a verdict and people out taken to the streets yet. Okay. All right. Now let's get over here to the Ukraine. And I just want to point something out real fast, is the fact that, and you're going to notice, so this is your Ukraine area. This is Moscow over here. Okay. And so there is, if you notice there is no air traffic on this border region. Like this whole area right here is free and clear. They seem to be flying around it. Okay, that's because if you remember, we had an incident not too long ago where they actually had an aircraft that got shot down, right? And it's because you have that you have these missile systems in here that are mobile, right? And so they are aircraft like trackers, like they're tracking for military planes and things like that. Well, if they from time to time will squawk and lock onto a commercial aircraft, and of course, commercial aircrafts, they're not talking to the dudes that are sitting there in the mobile missile launchers, right? And so, the military may be trying to talk to that aircraft, and because they're not on the same frequencies, they're not listening, they're not responding, right? And so then all of a sudden it looks suspect. You don't know what's coming inbound. And so they'll actually shoot things out of the sky. And so I just saw a big article. Basically, they were advising people to stay clear of this area, make it kind of, now that would be an actual no-fly zone, all right, where they're going to restrict an airspace and drive traffic around it to prevent from having another incident, okay? So there is that. Now, the other thing I do want to point out as we kind of get down south here is the fact that this is the Black Sea. Now, if you guys were watching my Monkey Minute last Wednesday, the Flashbang administration actually pulled all of our naval ships out of the Black Sea because I guess one of the higher ups in Russia, Russia, was basically telling our administration, you need to get out of the area. You don't have any business in there. You and the UN or NATO, you need to vacate the area because we're not basically taking any prisoners. And I guess they were telling them it's the place about to go hot. And so that said, we basically tucked our tail between our legs and bugged out of the area. And now, yesterday I was reporting that the UK is actually sending a boat into that area, which is actually a carrier fleet. It's going to have the F-35s on it and things like that. So it's interesting that the UK has got the Huevos Rancheros to go into that area. They're not heading until May, which it's a couple weeks out. And so that could be, we'll see if it's a single ship or if they add more. But it looks like they're going to establish some operations within that general area. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. But I think that whole thing is going to go hot. Now, if we go look at the ship activity from the Marine standpoint, this is marinetraffic.com is the site that I use. This is going to be your Ukraine. And up here is Moscow, okay? Notice there's waterways that run through here. Now, let me give you the significance of the color of dots that we're looking at, just so you can kind of understand. These red ones are tankers, green ones are cargo, blue ones are passenger. All right, so that's going to be like your Disney cruise ships, okay? And not literally Disney. I'm just don't hold me to that one. I'm just saying cruise ships, okay? Think of that, all right? But you get fishing boats and all kinds of different stuff. But the red and the greens are tankers and cargo. And it looks to be like heavy duty coming out of Istanbul. And so, but these are all of these little gold things along here are ports. As we kind of go through, you can see the ports are all along the coastline. Now, supposedly, the U.S. is already bugged out, and so we're not even in the area anymore that we left last week. But yeah, the UK. So if the UK rolls into the Black Sea, they're going to come through here and be in that general area and start doing operations in that area as a support function to the Ukraine. Okay. So, but that we'll kind of keep an eye on. I don't see right now the fact that we've still got all of this stuff going on. Lots of cargo, lots of even passenger ships are out there. I don't think they're too concerned in general, but I do know that Russia, the Soviet, I did read an article 2 weeks ago, I think it was, where they were actually like going full operations in the Black Sea. So you've got the I keep saying Soviet. You've got the Russians are very active in here, including submarines and a bunch of different stuff. So definitely a recipe for disaster if this thing goes hot. Okay. All right. Let me break bad back over here to our crime scene, and we'll let this thing load up. Sorry about that. and take a closer look at the U.S., at what we got going on, and then we're going to also look at military stuff over the Middle East. And I know we're going long on this one, folks. I apologize because I didn't realize that I lost you midstream, and I've had to basically go in and redo all of this, and so bring you back in and again apologize. So, all right, current. We don't have persistence on 308, so we're sitting at about 337, 340 aircraft up over the U.S. Now, if we get looking into this general area up here in New Jersey, looks like we got quite a bit. Those are tankers, and these are going to be air transport. So those are going to be kind of your reach aircraft, C-17s. Now, that one is Cetus 03. I don't know. That's an interesting call sign. Don't see that. Usually they're reach call signs for the C-17. So the Cetus is unique. Looks like we got a little H-60 activity going on. Now, if we go into riot season, I would imagine you're going to see National Guard deployed in all of the major cities, including D.C. Now, D.C., this is what's crazy. Still a war zone. Still got all their fencing up and everything else. So the fact that they are leaving it up tells you that they are expecting, they're going to either make a move that makes everybody go hot, or they are going to, they knew that this riot stuff was probably going to cause a lot of things to go on down here in DC. And so, let's see, tanker and C-17 up here north of Pittsburgh. And okay, so I do see you guys have some questions over here in the chat, and we'll come back to that again. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll hit stop on the recording, and then I'll be able to go in and start answering some of your questions. So let's see here. All this congestion in here is, for the most part, that's going to be all trainers. Congestion in here, trainers. This teal call sign, those are usually your weather related aircraft. So those are the C-130s, your Hurricane Hunters, things like that. So that one looks to be airborne. And let me see if we've got any others. Not seeing that. Tankers, air refuelers, Shell 01, that looks to be doing something out here. That could be, I don't know what that is. That's a very interesting flight path. The fact that they're doing that little loop right here, their altitude 8,300 feet. So they are level at 8,400 feet, and they're just flying around. That's a good search altitude. And if they're trying to get eyes on something, so there may be something going on. Maybe there's an aircraft that is, search and rescue effort. Typically, that scattered pattern is not something for search and rescue. I mean, unless they just unknown where the last time it was seen, they're looking for a white boat in the middle of nowhere. But that is definitely suspect. That right there, let me see, that appears to be that. So the little Dolphin, that MH-65D, that's going to be Coast Guard. All right. And so the fact that the Coast Guard isn't out there doing it, they just kind of buzzed out a little bit and are headed back inbound. That is interesting right there, because you can see now they're in the same search area right here. So there may be an aircraft lost, which would give a larger look, right? Boats are typically going to be a real tight area. When you start getting an aircraft that has disappeared out here in the triangle, so to speak, right? That's the Bermuda Triangle. Then you're going to get these larger search patterns where they're looking for debris on top of the water. Okay. That may be what we have. Probably have an aircraft that is gone off, and they're out looking. Okay, so now a typical search pattern for a C-130 is going to be a real long back and forths. That's when you start knowing they have a confirmation that something's gone down. This is somebody may have just squawked Mayday, and then their plane went off, and they're trying to figure out where the heck it was. They know it was out here. Okay. So it looks like we've got some type of a SAR effort going on, preliminary SAR effort, okay? Weather moving through. That right there is going to be a fighter aircraft. Another fighter, all right? Looks like that's coming out of Jacksonville. It's bugging right through the weather. And another one, now that one looks like it's coming out of Savannah area. But those are fighters, Okay, this is a fighter. Got a little Chinook activity going on. And let's get over here to the west coast. We'll get into the this general area. Lots of little helos activity, but that's pretty common along this area. Now that right there is probably going to be, given the call sign 23465, that's probably going to be one of our Homeland Security. FAB, that's going to be more than likely. That is a MH-60 Nighthawk. So that one looks to be really, really looking closely at the coastline and stuff, right? I mean, they're looking for something. So that's a search activity right there as well. Okay. So altitude is 775 feet. So they are really getting close to looking at something. Now there's a runway here. They could be landing, but that looks like their area of interest. If I had to guess, they're helping with a search effort over here on the West Coast too. Okay, and so let's look very quickly. Let me see if I can find all of my my flights. I'm kind of going across here to see. I was looking for my that's Atlas Air. I was trying to see if there we go, Eurocopters. All right, let's kind of dig into the Eurocopter side. All right, that's that same area, and that right there is going to be, as we were looking at that a minute ago, that is Homeland Security. And so we see that other aircraft that we saw in the same general area right here. Remember that? And so it looks like Homeland Security. Looks like we got something, maybe a border breach or something going on, where you've got the two flights doing similar stuff. So you got this one, Homeland Security, and that's going to be that bird right there. Okay, and then you've got this, that's a military bird, FAB, assisting in the efforts. Okay. All right, and let me back up just a little bit. We've got a little G5 that's inbound from the Big Island. And let me see. I'm not seeing. We got this one. That's an AWACS that's up here in Alaska. And I remember we've got an active volcano that's spewing ash out here. And so the Alaska side got a priority air transport up here, and then we look like the other one just disappeared on us. So that's how you get it back. Remember, I was telling you, when you see an aircraft that just disappears on you, just hit the P on persistence. It's going to pull it back up most of the time. And so that's an AWACS. That's going to be one of your little airborne air traffic control. Think of it that way, okay? It's an E3B Sentry or an AWACS. All right, let me back up a little, and we're going to go look at the Middle East. I did see somebody comment earlier that we had another one of the Black Wolves airborne, but persistence is on right now, and so that's going to be air refueler operating out of UAE, another air refueler. So we got some fighter activity going on. That looks to be, that's a French C-130 landing in Kuwait. And okay, this is a good one. All right, remember this B-703, that's a spy plane, all right? Surveillance. It's not like a spy plane like the U-2, totally different types of technology, although they do have some similar capabilities. But this 703 is the Israeli 703, and if you notice, he's flying along the coastline here. There's Tel Aviv right here, all right? All the way up here, there's Nazareth, and Haifa is up here. And so he is, when they're flying like that, that side-looking radar, as we showed out yesterday, there's that little box that's underneath the bottom, little doghouse, and that's a side-looking radar. So those guys are actually painting a battlefield, so to speak, okay? And so they're basically gathering everything that's on the ground and painting a beautiful picture and looking at from an intelligence standpoint. And so looks like they are out doing some work right now. Don't see that one very often, actually. And normally we see, when that's up, we usually see some of the Gulf streams that are out here over the water, but not seeing that. So, all right, UK looks to be, again, a lot of activity going on. That little Hawk call sign, those are going to be trainers. Okay, Slayer probably is too. And so that's probably instructor. And then EC45, that could be Drago. That's a French EC45. So I'll give you guys kind of a closer look at this. Civil security. So that looks to be kind of like a police helicopter, I guess. Notice it's got all the different the cameras and all that kind of stuff out here, little electronic equipment stuff out on the side. So, all right, let me get back to this. That is your EC45. And what do we have here? Another French bird. So kind of active going on in France right now. We get into, let's see here, that's a little Belgium A400. That's going to be an air transport. And then as we get into here, that's going to be an Osprey. That's U.S. military Osprey. We see them operating in that area quite frequently. Trainers. These are kind of like your little, let's see here, kind of like your little Hawkers. It's an Embraer Phenom is what that is. But that's kind of like your little Maxwell Birds. Okay, they're pretty nice. And that's going to be a trainer, a little Hawk. Lynx, that's trainer. Lynx, trainer, Lynx, trainer. Puma. And let me just get in on that a little closer and see what we got here. That's one of your big heavies, and then we've got a Chinook. So, all right, banana copters, I call them. So that looks to be it. I'll get us back over the U.S. real fast. All right, I'm going to send us off. I got a lot of work to do in terms of just doing a little, doing the blending of our disconnect and our reconnect. So, monkeys, hang on if you want to stay on. You got questions, I will come back into this. I'm going to send us off, and then if you want to hang out, I'll be in chat here for a couple minutes and go through some of your questions and things like that. So that's it. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear at MonkeyWerx US.